Luke, obviously a really tough afternoon at the office. What are your thoughts after the game?
Oh look, I expected a really tough game. If you look at the results they've had, against Leeds, the performance they put out, and you look at the performance they put out against Wakefield. I think Pauli said it after the game. They're one of the most physical packs, and they do. When you've got Delaney, Walmsley, Lees, and Knowles, who seem to really have found the form again. They're a very difficult proposition to go against. So I knew it was going to be a tough game. And look, we've got a lot of young players within our group. I know Wayne Bennett spoke about this weeks ago, saying it's very difficult to keep young kids up there each and every week. And we feel like we have. I think, I said before, I think last 7 games before that, I think we'd won 4. We're really sort of building some momentum, which I spoke about us doing in the latter half, in the second half of the year. But it's very difficult to keep them young lads up there each and every week. When you go against a form team like Saints who are playing extremely well, when Wellesby's sat on the bench, they've got a good side. I know he's coming back from injury, but when they have the luxury of doing that, and the other players that sort of just coming back into the fold from them, then look, they're a good side. I just think we didn't win the physical battle. It was a physical battle that we lost, both with the ball, without the ball, and then in that heat when we go down to 12 men. Look, I think Saints are one of the best. They've been for a long time, actually, for a number of years defensively. They were unbelievably good at slowing the ruck down, and I think some of our players were getting a little bit frustrated with that. Tarney got a little bit frustrated with the play of the ball speed. He thought he was getting held down, arms getting trapped, legs getting trapped, and I've spoke to him about he's got to let the referee make them decisions, or hopefully make them decisions, not him.
I was going to talk to you about the sin bin, the Tarney Mill sin bin. Obviously, a source of some frustration for you in terms of the manner in which it came about. I think it was remarks made to the referee, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, like I said before, there were a lot of slowing down in the ruck. Really, that's the game. That's what the defensive side are trying to do, and I think he was getting extremely frustrated, thinking they were finding his front and getting wins, and there wasn't much coming his way. Obviously, from a coach's perspective, I've said he's hurt us more than anybody else. He's hurt us more than the ref, not giving him the decision, him, getting himself sin-binned, particularly in that heat as well, that heats. But, Tarney's held his hand up, he understands what he did, and like I said, we're more out of frustration than anything else, but we have spoke about, it only hurt us, really. But I understood his frustrations, I know where we were going with it, but at the same time, as a player, you can't do it.
6-0, I think, at the time, wasn't it? And then 3 tries when you're down to 12 men's a killer, really, isn't it?
It is a killer, especially in that heat. For anybody who wanted the game, it was obviously pretty warm conditions. And when you're going up against the Saints side that are red hot and playing well, and when you go down to 12 men, it's extremely difficult. Like you say, it wasn't just the that we had a man down, the fact that we conceded try after try in that period, which, really hurt us.
Yeah, it's there were periods of the game, both first half and second half, where you just starved of any possession.
Yeah.
Long periods.
Yeah, very much so, and it's hard to get the momentum back. Like I said before, they're a really physical pack, Saints, very physical. When they get on the front foot and build some momentum, it's difficult to actually shift that momentum, and with the sin binning, and we just never really got to grips with it. And I don't think we ended our sets well. I know we didn't end our sets very well. Our transition from attack to defence was abysmal, really. I think we kicked 2 7-tackle sets. We had a few where we kicked the ball really poorly, and then they led to yardage penalties, which again just put undue pressure on ourselves.
Matt Frawley, that didn't help, did it? It looked like an ankle injury. How is he? What is the nature of the injury?
I think it's his TFL, which potentially could be a season. Could be a season. We don't know yet. They don't want to diagnose it. It's not going to be a 1 weeker, that's for sure. But he's pretty badly swollen, so they're going to obviously get a check on him. The physio is going to go for a scan on Monday, but the hoodoo, the jinx, whatever you want to call it, just continues this year. We've had, like I said before, I borrowed players from Ulkiar and Danny Richardson. I've moved players around. I've played with 3 fullbacks 1 year because I had no no half-backs. I don't think Nye Levels, Tuilola here and Clooney have ever trained 1 second together, never mind played a minute together. And we actually brought Fralls in. I thought what we lacked at the beginning of the year when we had so many disruptions to our spine players, we lacked a little bit of direction and leadership and experience, which is rightly so, you know, when we had them young lads playing in the positions, but to lose him now, that, like you say, Clooney's still out, Tui's out for the year, Niall's out for the year, just probably puts a lot of pressure on us once again. And it, you know, some decisions to be made, whether, I don't know if we have the capabilities of bringing somebody in from another club, or whether we, you know, there might be some lads, not sure if they're fully ready from the academy, but you know, it might be just a bit like, let's throw them in the deep end and see how they go, or we move some other players around once again. So it's some decisions to be made again.
In terms of how half-time team talks go, knowing that Frawley couldn't come back on with an injury like that, how tough was that one for you today, 24-6 down? It
was tough, but it was also one of those where I said, you know, the points came when we had a man sin binned. And actually, we'd not give ourselves an opportunity in the game. I think we had one play the ball inside their 20 in that first half, and we scored. The problem was we didn't have any more, and the field position were. I just sort of spoke to him about if we can actually manage the way we end our sets, a little bit more ball control, and actually get to grips with the speed of the ruck, then we're going to give ourselves a chance. You know, we had one opportunity and scored one. The problem was, I think the tanks were empty at that stage. There were a lot of lads that looked extremely worse for wear, and we tried to wrangle it back, but yeah, I think the damage were done.
Just in terms of positives from a really disappointing afternoon, the lads kept going, didn't they? You know, their effort levels were still good. You know, they finished on attack, forced a goal line drop out.
Yeah, do you know what? I can't fault. Like I said, I thought we were a little bit done with the way we played originally, and it put too much stress on us. But the fact that we kept competing until the last bit, you know, we tried to force a drop out. You know, we chased like mad. I thought there were really good signs. I spoke to them about not the good work that we've put in over the last, 2 months. You know, in the last, I said before, we won at 4 out of 7 games before this, and I don't want it to detract from the fact that we actually put some foundations in place. You know, hopefully it's just a blip. Even with the injuries, you know, hopefully we can learn from this scrubby and actually finish the season on a bit of an high.